everybody, this is Amy, aka Funky Mama 0703. Today is September 11th, and as pretty much everybody and their brother is doing a video or commemorative of this particular date, I have decided to throw myself in since I have the channel here. September 11th hit me really hard, and it always does. Every year I'll watch, it's one of the few times I actually sit and watch Fox News now. Because they always have the most comprehensive, best commemorative situation when it comes to the bombing of the World Trade Center. I'm going to do a quick timeline. I'm sure a lot of people remember. It was 18 years. A lot of you guys are old enough to have remembered it. But I'm just going to quick remind you of the timeline. I've got it up here on my Kindle. This was written by IranHeavy.com by Lauren Weigel, and it's a day that will always remember or be remembered by us. I think it should be something that kids in school are taught, and my son reminded me that his teacher had said something about that last year some of the students that he had gone to school with had told their teacher this year that they considered it old history, which is what history is old. It's stuff that makes us what we are. And this country came together when 9/11 happened. We all stood together and fought together. It didn't matter gay, straight, black, white, whatever division there was there, you agreed you wanted to be a part of the making this better and trying to figure out what we can do to save our country. We were shocked. We were all hit. I remember being shocked that this could happen in the United States because we had all just figured we were Teflon. We were bulletproof. Nothing could hit us. It would go through, it would happen other places. It couldn't happen here. And we proved ourselves wrong. It was horrendous what happened there. Over 3,000 people died in the two towers. You had hundreds of people on the plane, about 300 people on the 4 planes that had crashed. You had police officers, you had firefighters, you had Port Authority individuals, you had just regular people out there helping who don't get any type of recognition because we may not remember them. We may not know that they did this. And it's shocking that all these people risked their lives and fought to save other lives, and they lost their lives in the balance. So the timeline, regular morning, everybody getting ready to go to work, go on their flights. At 8:46, Flight 11 crashes into the North Tower of the World Trade Center between floors 93 and 99. So that was just about the 100-story level. At 9:03, about half an hour later, actually, I'm sorry. About a half hour later, Flight 175 crashes into the North Tower of the World Trade Center. And that was between floors 77 and 85. At 9:37, Flight 77 crashes into the western side of the Pentagon, which was another building that was hit. At 9:59, the South Tower of the World Trade Center collapsed. At 10:03, Flight 93 crashed by its hijackers in Pennsylvania because of fighting in the cockpit. At 10:28, the North Tower of the World Trade Center collapses. At 10:50, 5 stories of part of the Pentagon collapse. Let's see, at 5:20 p.m., this is hours later, 7 World Center, which was a 47-story building, collapsed. So many people lost their lives in those collapses and in the planes, and just the senseless killing. You can go online, find places that'll give you all the information you need about it. What it is just a heinous act. Um, I'm not, I mean, we all know the stories. I personally don't think it's one species or one group or another. It's, I think, just hate that caused this. And I don't know, it gets me. It hits me really hard in the heart because I think of how we're today moving further apart, away from each other, hating each other, disagreeing to the point of becoming violent to each other, doing horrendous things. And I think I remember back to that day and the days following it, um, the unity that we had in this country. And I just wish that someday, hopefully, it doesn't take an event like this to bring us back together, because um, there is so much anger and so much dissent and just intolerance of each other that causes just, I don't know, a despise in some respects to people. Um, we don't have the ability to appreciate what this person is, who this person is, because we're too busy worrying about what this person is. Um, and it's getting worse, and I hope it stops. After 9/11, I remember how tightly bound our country became, and we still had our divisions. You know, we still had the differing groups, the differing factions, but it wasn't filled with hate. We had a common enemy to go against. Um, and I think we dealt with it the best way we could. We were in shock. I mean, like um, I don't know if I said it in this one or if it was one of the earlier tries at this, but I know we, as a country, thought that this couldn't happen in the United States. We had so little experience at dealing with terrorism in our country. Most of what happened here was homegrown, and even the things that you're seeing now with the school shootings and the mass shootings elsewhere, that wasn't stuff that was commonplace in our country um, until after 9/11. And it's not that it didn't happen, it's just that it wasn't as commonplace as it is now, where it's almost once a week you hear of some mass shooting somewhere or some terrible thing happening, and it didn't happen back then. Um, it wasn't until this, and it might be just that now they're calling it homegrown terrorism or whatever, but it's horrendous whatever is happening to this country. And 9/11 is a constant reminder every year of what can happen if you if you just become complacent and don't keep your eyes open and don't work to be tolerant and understanding of other people, other religions. And I understand the whole aspect of these guys are radical. They're raised to hate the United States. Even in their uh, tenets, their arguments with us, it's always been they hate us, and who knows why. Part of it is because we do have freedoms to do what we want, and our religions don't parallel theirs, and they have a lot of hate. But sometimes you have to answer hate with love, and I don't know how that would work in this respect. But they acted out, and they did something heinous, and it was a horrendous thing that happened. I remember where I was on September 11th, 2001. And I'd like to hear in the comment bar below, if you want to comment, let me know where you were. 18 years, some of you most of you are old enough to have known that. 18 years, I remember my daughter was about a year and a half, almost 2 years old. And we were driving from my house to my sister's house. We always had a little get together every once or twice a week, my sister and I. We had kids 3 weeks apart, so that I was thinking, well, not so that, but we were always got together so that the kids could play together and we could hang out, because we were hanging out together even before the kids came. But we would spend once or twice a week hanging out together and just, spending a day, basically. Running errands, sitting at her house, whatever. And we were on our way over, my daughter and I, over to the house. And I remember hearing on the radio something about that a plane had hit hit the World Trade Center, but we at that point it was just one plane. So I was thinking, it's got to be a practical joke. This has got to be crazy. Got midway there, almost to my sister's house, when the second plane hit, and it made it real to me that there was something going on. And I couldn't fathom that it could happen in the United States. I mean, come on, seriously, in the United States, how could somebody steal planes? How could somebody do this? Is there something going on? Got to my sister's house, we sat and watched it, and a short while after we got there, or after my daughter and I got there, was when the Pentagon was hit, and then shortly after that was when the first World Trade Center, when the first building, South Building, went. It shocked me. It really hit. And I remember my sister and I sitting there in tears. The kids not understanding because they're 2 years old. They don't understand. But we were sitting and watching the news, and we were in absolute tears because of this heinous act that happened in front of our faces, and that we had never even had to worry about really, a worry about them attacking us at all. We were always, even though my sister and I grew up in an age where we were concerned about nuclear bombs from Russia and all that. That was starting to wane at the time when we were growing up. But we were still didn't believe it could happen. We were always informed by the government that we were protected, that they would get the missiles, the nuclear missiles, before they got to us. This particular deal showed us that was not, all right, it's not missiles, but it was not the case that the government really could protect us from something like this, that there was something that wasn't there. I worked airport security for 8 years during the initial Persian Gulf crisis, not the war, but the Persian Gulf crisis, when I think Kuwait was taken over. And I remember the fear of having to have a county officer with me at the airport to make sure that we were protected if somebody was trying to get onto a plane from our location. I remember the stress of having the FAA come through, knowing they were coming through, and that I had to watch every bag carefully to make sure that I could spot their dummy weapon, so that my station wouldn't get in trouble and I wouldn't get in trouble for having not caught it. I did the one time I got caught, or the one time they came through me. But in 8 years, it was just one time. It was after the Persian Gulf crisis of, I can't even remember what year it was, I think 80, maybe it was 91. After the Persian Gulf crisis, that we stepped up and had a lot more concern about what was coming through. It was just never really a threat until that time, and it keeps getting worse. These guys got on in ports of the United States and had training for flying jets, not really big jets, but they had jet training. These terrorists got in to cockpits and killed or took over the planes. Shanksville, we were told that some of the passengers fought. Thank God they did. They're heroes. Every one of those people out there are heroes. They gave their lives so that our president and anybody in the White House was safe, because they're pretty sure that plane was on its way to the White House. That was before Cheney could have been put in, or Vice President Cheney could be put in a bunker that was, I mean, Bush wasn't there. President Bush was at this, going through schools and doing his thing. I think that's one of the things that gets me still to this day, is watching the video of him when he uh, first got word that the planes would hit the tower, and the look on his face and his inability to really react because he's in front of children. But it was shocking, and it hit you. And I think the whole idea was fantastic, that this was something that could happen here in the United States. We know now, and we have been having our own homegrown terrorism, and people have been doing terrible things. And embracing this whole hippie attitude that I've been trying to do. There's just not enough love. We don't understand each other enough, and we're not trying to understand each other enough. And that goes on the other side as well. Not just us, but the other side. They're not trying to understand us. They hate us. And arguments are there, and frustrations are there, and we're hurting each other. And if it doesn't change, we can have another 9/11, and I don't want that. That is a huge issue, and I'm hoping that maybe not my video, but something is done. We can't live like this, and we can't live like with people going out and killing at schools, and killing at shopping centers, and killing at concerts, running whole masses of people down in their cars or whatever. We need to start understanding each other and trying to understand each other, and not stereotyping individuals, but taking them as individuals. And I think we need to work on that a little more. The weather outside is also gloomy, so it's reflecting the attitude of the day, I suppose. I'm going to let you go on this one. Comment down below. Let me know what you were doing on 9/11, or just any thoughts, feelings that you might have. I'd love to hear them, and I appreciate your sitting through and listening to me and my little rant about the 9/11. These events that come up always get a little something special, like the 4th of July and this, But I just wanted to say thank you for listening. Have a good day, and have a somber 9/11. I don't know how to go this way, but enjoy your day. Thanks, guys.
have on the back.